This is Michael Coffey, and this is a Tiny Desk sermon, an impromptu reflection on the readings for this coming Sunday. I'm the pastor of First English Lutheran Church in Austin, Texas. This coming Sunday is the fifth Sunday in Lent, March 18th, and the reading I want to focus on is the Gospel reading from John. It comes from the 12th chapter, beginning at verse 20. Now among those who went up to worship at the festival were some Greeks. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and said to him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew. Then Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. Jesus answered them, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Those who love their life will lose it, and those who hate their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there will my servant be also. Whoever serves me, the Father will honor. Now my soul is troubled. And what should I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it is for this reason that I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name." Then a voice came from heaven, "I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again." The crowd standing there heard it and said that it was thunder. Others said, "An angel has spoken to him." Jesus answered, "This voice has come for your sake, not for mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be driven out. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." He said this to indicate the kind of death he was to die. Well, like almost all of John's Gospel, this is a fairly enigmatic text with a lot of rich imagery and different trajectories you could take with it. I'm particularly struck by the image of the grain of wheat, the seed, that unless it falls into the earth and dies, it doesn't really do anything. It's just one seed. But if it dies, it bears much fruit and produces thousands of seeds. Jesus says this very clearly in the text for two important reasons. One, it is the way he is interpreting his own death, his own self-sacrifice before the powers of the empire, the powers of religion, the forces of darkness, which is sort of John language. And he is showing that by doing this, something greater will come out of it. But he says it for a second reason too, and we hear this in the text. He's saying this about us and our lives as people who follow Jesus. What does it mean to give our lives for the sake of the kingdom? What does it mean to take the single seed of our lives and plant them for the sake of producing much fruit? It means dying to something that we don't want to give up. We might want to preserve safety in our lives. We might want to preserve a certain status or wealth, a certain privilege we have because of our gender or race or nation. But God is calling us to use our lives for the sake of the kingdom and to find the meaning and purpose of our lives, not in preserving something about ourselves, but giving the central part of ourselves for the greater good. And we find the meaning of our lives in seeing what can come from giving up something that we thought we had to keep. Now, all of that would just be really challenging and inspiring advice if it weren't for the greater thrust of this text and of John's Gospel, which is that Jesus, by being the one who is lifted up, makes it possible for our lives to have their productive value that we long for them to have. In John's Gospel, Jesus is lifted up, both in the sense of being glorified, being praised, but he is lifted up only by being lifted up on the cross. So by being the one who gives of himself, who plants the seed of his life into the life of the world, he creates the produce, the thousands of possibilities that our lives can become and can bear for the sake of the kingdom. So we have to hear the good news that Jesus, through his life and through his death and his resurrection, empowers a new possibility, that this is how God creates our lives to have meaning and purpose, by being in this path, this God-given path, that giving of ourselves out of love for the world and for our neighbor produces something greater than if we only live for ourselves. So we want to trust as much we can the message of the cross, the lifting up of the cross, as not only Jesus' way, but our way. Lent is all about this, and about getting to Easter and being renewed, transformed again in good news, so we can be these people who have life to give for something greater than ourselves. God bless you in that journey. Peace.